If you're looking for a clean, sober, professional, academic,
well-researched, historically accurate, generally accurate, serious podcast
on Southern folklore, ghosts, bizarre events, and unique people,
this podcast is not for you.
However, if you've decided you can live with that,
then join us for The Strange South.
The first time, like, I've been to places where that wasn't an option. It was either drink or.
Oh yeah, we never dipped.
Yeah, I was like, what? But he told everybody what to do because he knew there were people for a funeral.
I like it when they do that.
He was like, I know there are several who are not, maybe don't know our strange ways here. This is how we do communion, and this is what you do, and you can come up or you don't have to. And if you want to come up, but you don't want to partake, you just want a blessing, then you take your arms and you cross them, and I'll know not to give you the thing.
I feel like preachers should do that at every service.
Yeah. Nobody no matter where they're ever been instructive.
Oh, he was so nice. Yeah. He was like, you can either dip or you can take drink.
It's inclusive.
He's not. It's Episcopal.
Well,
they're nice.
Even my Episcopalian preachers fathers never said that. So.
Yeah, well, he did.
He's unique.
Oh yeah, and the beach vibe, they're real chill down there.
That's true.
It's on Fort Morgan Road. It's like
he's like, you're all right.
Yeah, like Claudia always loved that about that church.
Did they have wafers? Did they have like little rice wafers, or did they have bread?
It was flatbread.
It was flatbread.
He broke it and said the prayers, and then whatever, and broke it. Like, but it was like a big sheet of very thin bread of some kind. I don't think it was a wafer.
Yeah, you'd know. I mean, they basically suck all the water out of your mouth.
Yeah, no.
You put them on their tongue and they dissolve, and then they drink all your water for you.
It was a very tiny piece that I had, but it was very nice. Yeah.
Actually, I think the communion that we used to do at the Episcopalian Church, I think there was an actual loaf of bread, and they would you would pinch the loaf off or whatever.
That's what my grandfather did.
This was like just a sheet there. I've seen bread though.
I've done all the things. I've
oyster
done
crackers,
wafers. I've done
crust.
Oyster crackers. I've done the good old pie crust, the best Jesus ever.
Well, see, the Catholics, because I was not a Catholic, the Catholics don't let you do that
unless you are Catholic.
You are Catholic.
Yeah, actually, there are other churches that don't.
There are some
that say, if you are not a born again Christian, you shouldn't come up and.
Oh yeah, this church is like everybody come as you are.
As it should be.
There's also like in the Bible,
LGBTQ priests, women priests.
Yeah,
like Episcopalians are the coolest.
Bonus.
Yeah,
Whiskey-palians love them. I do. That's what Claudia said. She was like a big Episcopalian, and that's what she called herself. So I can say that, I guess.
I support that.
I do too. Cheers.
Cheers. What are we drinking? Cheers.
Hello. First.
Hi.
Hello, Marleah.
Hi, Patrice. Hi, Courtney.
Hi, Courtney.
Hi, everybody.
I don't know how much of that is going to end up being in there.
We were talking about communion because I did go I went to Gulf Shores this week to a funeral for Jim. I referenced him last week with the scotch. So went to the full Episcopal funeral. It was very nice and very welcoming church there in Gulf Shores. And, we got on that talking about how the communion was given and the bread and the passing of that. I guess probably because we're drinking our drinks.
It's kind of chalice.
You got grape juice.
That is a chalice right there.
Chalice.
Yeah.
But in the Catholic Church and Episcopal Church, you get real wine, as far as I understand.
Oh, yes, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Nice
and the Methodists sometimes, too.
But it was grape juice in Southern Baptist.
Always. And our crackers were always like why do they always make Jesus so unappealing? I swear. They're the grossest crackers. And like when you were talking about how like you'd pick your little cracker up and then you'd have to wait they said the thing and everybody eats them at the same time. But that means while you're waiting for the juice tray to come around, like everybody's sitting there making all these stupid faces because they can't get the shit out of their teeth, It's like, oh my God, this oyster cracker is stuck in my molar.
Well, with
Jesus, get out of my molar.
I know. I never thought that oyster cracker was Jesus.
Well, the whole idea that you're eating Jesus is just, yeah.
If we talked about it more, I think it might be frowned upon eventually.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, really, that's what it says. Right? Like,
yeah.
That's what it says.
My body.
Just do in remembrance of me is what our said at our pulpit. Even though we hardly ever took communion.
Yeah, some churches don't. In Baptist churches especially, it seemed like maybe once a quarter you would do it. And special occasions. And Methodist churches, you do it more. And in our church, that was like, our Baptist church was like, we wanted to be Methodist, but we weren't. And so the last one that I was at, which I loved, but they did it, I think, once every 5 weeks or something like that. It was.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know. We didn't do it very often, though.
Some churches do every week. A lot of Catholic churches do every week, don't they?
So. Yeah. And so Episcopalians as well.
Episcopalians do.
Because I'm going to hell. I feel like I've just been.
It's kind of, I think it's like you do communion and then you give them money.
Well,
I think it's like the two. I always like connected the two together.
Well, today for our communion, for our drink this week of all the years that we've been doing this, and as much as everyone knows, I love dill pickles. In fact, I just canned processed cucumbers today. Dill pickles.
How many did you?
I only ended up with about 5 quarts because one burst in the canner. It happens.
Son of a bitch.
So I opened the can, and I thought I heard it pop when I put them down, and I was like, I think that was a sound. You never know how many times you've used the jar and how weak it is, and so I thought, I heard a pop, but I lowered the basket into the big vat of boiling water, and my house is 85 degrees from it, and let it sit. It was 15 minutes to process. Open it up, and there's just dill pickles floating all in the water. I have a picture of it. It was very sad, but so that quart is gone. But I made the rest, and so I'm making for the first time after many requests from many fans dill pickle martinis today. It's very simple. You can do as I did. If you have any homemade pickles, I would suggest using some of that brine. I used my Aunt June's recipe, the pickles that I've made before with her recipe. So I used about half of that and then half of like a Vlasic brand because it's got that green tint from the turmeric. But it's just vodka and pickle juice. And I put a little vermouth in my first one, so I would suggest maybe adding a dash of that. And Patrice wants me to make one with gin next.
Yeah, so that's going to be happening soon.
So we'll try Hendrick's next.
Mine's almost gone, and I don't like pickles.
Mine is almost gone as well, and it is delicious.
There's a homemade pickle floating in it, which doesn't hurt.
No, it doesn't.
And it's a hot pickle too.
It's not that hot. Did you just get the hot pickle?
No, it's not like it's not a hot like hot Cheetos hot pickle. But it's not just a dill pickle. It's got extra.
Because
yours isn't? You just didn't feel that?
Those with a red pepper in them. Habanero. Not a habanero, chili pepper.
I've also been like eating Wickles pickles. Those are spicy. It's so good though. I like all things pickled. Never had pickled pig's feet, but I don't think I would be eating pig's feet, period. So I don't want to pickle it.
Are those cooked or are they?
I don't
How does that work?
I don't know, and I really
the texture and the things and the flesh floating around.
Sorry.
I just can't get past it.
I'm not going to tell you a story from today. I'm not going to tell you. What about eggs? Have you ever had pickled eggs? I've not either.
I'm against it.
They do have pickled quail's eggs in Johnson's grocery store.
Interesting.
I've been tempted to try.
I mean, I could try an egg. A boiled egg might not be the worst, but I don't know. I might love it.
I might love it too. I mean, they like you always go to convenience stores and they have like those huge barrels.
I know, like vats
pickle.
of eggs.
Somebody likes them.
Yeah,
because they always have them. So I don't know.
Let us know your thoughts.
I'm going to bring them pickled quail eggs and make them eat them.
Hey, don't put it in Jell-O.
No, I won't.
Oh
Though I do have multiple egg salad Jell-O recipes. Y'all, this is going to be for this time's B-side. We are going to do a Jell-O reveal because I finally got back on the horse and did a Jell-O.
Yay.
So anyway, that's later.
Later. All right, y'all. Let's get this thing started.
Do you want more Strange South every week? We can help. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and you can join our Facebook fan group, Fans of the Strange South Podcast, to keep the chat going with our whole creepy community. Do you have a story idea for us, or a story of your own to share? Email us at stories@thestrangesouth.com. Plus, if you join our Patreon, you not only help support the podcast, you get free swag, extras, exclusives, and a discount on merch. You can find links to all these things on our website, thestrangesouth.com, along with photos, links, and show notes from every episode. Strange South t-shirts, mugs, stickers, and other goodies. See you there. Oh, we didn't press record, so you missed our sing-along, and now we can't get that back.
You missed it. Mm-hmm. I know y'all are like upset. Everybody's like, damn. Can't see. Fucking getting old, y'all. Getting old. Fucking sucks.
Courtney, did you put anything different in this one, or was it still just vodka and pickle brine?
Same. Might have been a different.
It's good.
Yeah,
I mean, they're both good.
Ratio.
Yeah.
Of the homemade versus the.
I absolutely love, and I could honestly have like a bowl of pickles right here and eat while I drink this with the gin, the Hendrix.
We fast forward and we're already at the gin drink now.
We're already at the gin drink.
Exactly. And I was just saying that I probably should not have drank as much as like I have got so much information, y'all.
Recap.
So let's get started. Okay. Oh my God. I have become obsessed with this delusional evil couple that I've been studying. And I've been studying this, y'all. I'm obsessed a bit with it. Not so much them as humans, but more them as like a lack of human and their psychology. This is not a Southern story. It is rooted in extreme religious belief and cultish behavior, which if you didn't listen to episode 140 before this, you need to go back and look or listen. Don't look. I guess you could look. Nothing to look at. But that's why I'm talking about this, is because I'm very much like cults baffle and fascinate me at the same time. But this is so unbelievable. I don't even have the words, and it pisses me off. And it's like so many of these people fucking piss me off so hardcore. And I didn't even know it was happening while it was happening. You know, it's very recent. I caught just a little bit as it was going on, but I really didn't pay it much attention. But these people are just so grotesque. And I don't think it's just my personal bias to call out both of these seemingly docile people. And I'm talking about Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell. And like I said, if you're kind of confused, go back and listen to episode 140, because this is part 2 of the Doomsday duo that I'm talking about. But just to kind of give you a quick recap, and I'm going to put a list of everything I've listened to. Like this week alone, I have probably listened to 30 hours of podcast.
Damn.
Just on this couple. There's so much information out there right now. It's a dark, what the fuck hole that I have been down. So, like I said, Lori Vallow, Daybell, is the Doomsday mom. And if you haven't heard of her, I'm fixing to tell you a little bit about her. She's a California girl. She grew up in a Mormon home, Church of Latter-day Saints, LDS home, but California style. So I hate to kind of give labels, but if you think of California and you think of like Mormons, they kind of seem opposite. But she was like the California version of the LDS, where tans and appearances and money made the difference. She was a beautiful blonde. She is a beautiful blonde. She's vivacious, good-natured, seemingly good-natured. She was a good mom. At least that's what everybody would say, and that's what they saw of her. And she was like on fucking Wheel of Fortune.
What?
She was on Wheel of Fortune, and she was also like some kind of beauty queen. Like she did a beauty pageant thing when she was like Mrs. whatever. So, you know, that was kind of like up her alley thing. But however, she'd been married 5 times.
Mm-hmm. And the last week, you were talking about she had her last husband killed, right?
Right. So, you know, married 5 times in California is not necessarily, I think, a red flag, but it is kind of a red flag. So outwardly, she did all the mom things. She was like the perfect wife, the perfect friend, the perfect mother. She had a son, Colby, which is her eldest, with husband number 2. And then she had a daughter, Tylee, with husband number 3. And then she adopted JJ Vallow with her husband number 4, Charles Vallow. JJ was autistic and a special needs kid. And he is actually the grandnephew of her 4th husband, Charles. So it gets a little complicated. So we're dealing with Mormons here, which they have a lot of kids. Okay. It's like everybody has a lot of kids. Birth control is like not a thing. I was listening to something today and I think they called it, what did they call it? They were like the quiverful, which is kind of almost a slang term or a not like a, I forgot what they said about it, but it basically means like to have many kids as possible as the Lord will let you.
Is that quiver like from?
It's a like bow and arrow. Yeah, it's the quiver that holds your arrows. So you want as many arrows as possible.
Right. So that was their philosophy. So there's a lot of players in play. And in our show notes, I will put a link and I'll actually add a picture of like this whole diagram, because you really have to look at the diagram to understand where everybody sits in this whole tragedy. And it is a tragedy. So Lori is also a 144,000 believer, which meaning that she thinks that she is part of like the chosen ones or one of the top of the chosen ones once the, second coming of Christ and all the biblical things I'm not even going to go into because first of all, I can't just like rattle it off because I don't know it very well. But it's basically like once the end of the world happens, there's only going to be like 144 people that are
144,000.
Thank you. 144,000 people.
It's a very select group, 144 only.
Yes, 100. Yeah.
Screwed. I'm screwed.
And they're part. Yeah, me too. I'm screwed. I'll be right there with you in Screwed Town. But this is part of like the Prepared People's Movement also, which is also kind of a cult. And it's very large within the LDS community, or it's kind of an offshoot of the LDS community. And Lori, believe, is Chad Daybell, which I don't think I really got much into Chad Daybell. I hate that name. Daybell. Believe that the apocalypse was July 22nd, 2020. All right. So I think when we left off, well, let me get back and just talk about Chad Daybell real quickly. Chad Daybell was an author who wrote about the apocalypse and the 144,000. He is married to Tammy. They have 5 kids because quiverful, and they live in Rexburg, Idaho. And 2 years, so we're talking about 2019, about 2 years before then, Lori goes to a religious conference and she meets Chad because she's read all of his books. And the first thing that Chad tells her is that they have been married many times before in their past life, which, like, that is one hell of a pickup line. And she falls for it hook, line, and sinker. And so they start texting, and she is fangirling so hard on him. And soon afterwards, an affair starts. Chad is a self-proclaimed prophet. He and Lori they think that they are going to be the leaders of the 144, and that they have godlike powers. They're supposed to go out and find the people to go to the New Jerusalem or whatever it is. Again, I don't know a lot of like religious doctrine and stuff, but this is all of what I've read. And also, they're supposed to rid the world of zombies, which I did say the word zombie right there. Chad is basically, the head honcho prophet, the one who assigns people on a scale of light or dark, good or bad. If you're bad, the worse you are, the closer you are to becoming a zombie. And then once he assigns you a certain number, then bam, you're a zombie. So once you get on the zombie list, it means that you're no longer human, and therefore they can take you out, or they're supposed to take you out, which relates a lot to the movie that I made Marleah watch, which is the frailty, not fragility, frailty. So I've barely scratched the surface of all of this, where this comes from and, what's going on. But I'm going to do my best to kind of wrap this up as quickly as possible. And I'll leave it to you if you're interested in any of this to follow up. Like I said, you too can spend 30 hours in 1 week going down this rabbit hole. So it is July 2019, picking up where we last left off. Charles, her fourth husband, is dead, shot by her brother, Alex Cox. So in August of 2019, Colby Ryan, who is her oldest son, talks to his mom, Lori, who's the Doomsday mom. And she tells him that she's going to move and start a new job, but she didn't want to tell him where. And then his contact with his mom and his sister, Tylee, drops off. So Tylee, there's 3 kids that Lori is in contact with, basically, and it really is just 2. So I always call him Ryan. Colby is her oldest son. And he's off in college. He's older. He's not living in the family unit. But there's 2 other children that is living with Lori after Charles is murdered. But at this time, they think that he was just killed. Her brother killed him in self-defense. So it's very gray. And talking about the killing in self-defense, there's so much video, y'all. Like police cam videos of this whole situation, so many text messages, there's so much communication in this case. It's almost overwhelming. So you can watch, if you watch the documentary, you can see like when the police go in and they find her brother after he shot Charles. And Lori took JJ and Tylee, took JJ to school. Tylee was with her. They ran through like Burger King. And then they went somewhere like maybe Target and bought some flip-flops and then came back and the police were like, and this is all after he had been shot. Mm-hmm. So instead of like going, oh my God, what the fuck, and start planning like, and hanging around to figure out what's going on and planning funeral arrangements and all this stuff, they went shopping and like got a big gulp kind of thing. And they came back and you can see her and she is like laughing and flirting with the cops when she comes back to the crime scene of the supposedly self-defense killing of Charles Vallow. All right. So, and again, Charles is her 4th husband. In August, Lori also returns JJ's special trained service dog to the trainer. And in August, JJ's grandmother, who's also Charles's sister, again, I'll provide a family tree or whatever, Kay Woodcock, she loses touch with JJ. So Kay and Larry Woodcock live in Louisiana, and they would FaceTime JJ all the time. And Charles and Lori had adopted JJ as one of their own. So once Charles is dead, JJ stays with Lori, and Lori, like, that's his adopted mother. And so being the grandmother, they would FaceTime and stuff. But in August, she had a really hard time getting a hold of JJ. And then she would ask, Lori where JJ is, and either she would just give her some excuse or she just wouldn't answer her phone. In September, Kay doesn't really know, they lose all contact with JJ. She doesn't know where they are. She doesn't have access to JJ anymore. She reaches out constantly, she emails, she voicemails, she texts, she phone calls, whatever, but she never gets any response. And Kay and Larry Woodcock, they live in Louisiana. I can't remember if I said that already.
Yeah.
All right. So September 3rd, Lori enrolls JJ into the Kennedy Elementary School in Rexburg, Idaho. So they moved from Arizona to Idaho. But they really, they didn't tell her son, Colby, that they had moved up to Rexburg. Rexburg happens to be where Chad Daybell. Yeah, Daybell.
Daybell. You've been saying Daybell or Daybell.
Daybell lives. 5 days later, Tylee and JJ visit Yellowstone Park. And we know this because there is a picture of Tylee and JJ. And Tylee is got JJ, she's holding him and it's kind of protective. And then there's Alex, who is their uncle and Lori's brother. in the background. And this is the last time anyone saw Tylee. September 23rd, 2019, JJ is last seen at his elementary school in Rexburg, Idaho. The next day, Lori unenrolls JJ from the elementary school, saying that she plans to homeschool JJ. So during this time, if you are not in Lori's like immediate inner circle, then you really didn't know where she was, what she was doing, what the plans were. Next month, October 9th, 2019, Tammy Daybell calls 911 because someone is shooting at her with what she believes is a paintball gun in the driveway of her home. So Tammy Daybell is Chad's wife. So remember, Chad and Lori are currently having an affair. Chad's still married. Lori's current husband is dead, killed by her brother. Keep everybody straight. October 19th, 10 days later, Tammy Daybell dies. Suddenly in her sleep at the age of 49. And her death is ruled natural causes.
Natural causes of poison.
And well, there is a 911 call, and you can listen to this online, of Chad calling in and saying that, he found his wife dead. And he claimed that she had been sick and she had a coughing fit and that she just simply passed away after being so sick. However, a few hours before Tammy died, Chad texts Lori.
I was going to say, we're getting into COVID-19, just so we're aware.
Well, that's true.
This is true.
That's true.
This is true. But this is still 2019. So this is before anything is official with COVID-19 in October. So a few hours before Tammy died, Chad texts Lori that Tammy had become a zombie and was possessed by a demon named Viola.
Don't use her name and thing like that.
No, right?
Viola. No way.
So Tammy was buried 3 days later.
Damn.
Not cremated, though.
No, not cremated. Okay. Buried. There was an interview, and I think it's because, and I may be wrong.
Well, hell, we bury people within 2 days around here. I mean,
well, talking out my ass, but I don't think like Mormons cremate. Okay. I think they bury. Okay. And they were all LDS. But and we do bury the people kind of quickly, but it was very, very quickly because I think even though there were some people in town, there was a lot of people out of town, which usually you give consideration to like the main
you wait,
fame. Right. But there's an interview with Heather Daybell, who is Chad's sister-in-law, who I absolutely fucking love her. There's a great interview with her, which she is part of my 30 hours this week to listen to. And she was saying how, like, when they found out, like, Tammy died from out of the blue all of a sudden, and they lived, like, a couple of doors down, they, like, had to hightail it back for the funeral, and Chad wouldn't, like, pause the funeral. He's like, no, she's going in the ground in 3 days, come if you want to.
Something similar happened in my family recently.
Right? Yeah, it was like chop, chop.
Not the one I just talked about.
No.
Like a week later, after Tammy was buried, Chad visited a couple in his LDS ward. Again, they have like, I don't understand. It's very structured how they have things set up. But he visited this couple, the Gilberts, and he told them that he had met this woman. It's a week later, y'all. So a week later, he had met this woman he was going to marry.
Oh my God.
And said that she was very beautiful. And a few days later, Chad brought Lori over to meet them, and Alice Gilbert said Chad was very affectionate. So they were acting like teenagers in front of this couple.
A week after his wife died.
A week after his wife died. And I'm sure they invited him over as just like, well, his wife just died. We'll invite over the widow, give him company and stuff like that. But he had apparently moved on. And she says, it was abnormal for us to see Chad that way. His arms was all around her. He had his arms over her legs. She was giggling and laughing. She said, for my husband and I, we were embarrassed just because we had never seen Chad that way. They looked like teenagers. Also, just kind of a brief sidebar as far as like what the fuck these people did for a living. Chad was a fucking graveyard sexton.
Oh, we know what those are. We learned about it.
So, yeah, he dug graves.
Yeah.
He dug graves. That was his job until he became a quote-unquote author. And then the main breadwinner of the house was
his wife.
Tammy.
Yeah.
And she was a school librarian.
Damn, so they was poor.
With 5 kids.
Jeez.
Right?
Yeah.
However, Chad took out a bunch of insurance right before Tammy died. And so we'll talk about that soon. So they were talking about, the Gilberts were talking about how this was weird and that Lori told the Gilberts that her husband died recently of a heart attack. And Chad told the Gilberts that...
Oh, yeah, heart attack. She told people that instead of murdered by my brother.
Right. And
I'd have a heart attack if I got shot too.
Oh, yeah.
Sure
I mean, either or. We were out buying flip-flops, so I don't know. Lori also told the Gilberts that, Chad told the Gilberts that Lori had recently lost a daughter. So,
oh my.
Go back. This is October of 2019, that she had lost a daughter.
So nobody else has said anything about Tylee being missing.
Well, that's the thing about it is that Tylee's dad was already dead. And so she really didn't have much family other than Lori.
Even like school or something?
And the man that brought her up was dead because...
Her biological father was dead, and her stepfather who raised her was dead.
Yeah.
And her mother moved her to another state and told everybody they moved, so nobody was looking for her where she grew up.
Exactly. And Tylee, and she would anybody would ask about her.
They were in Arizona most of the time, and now they're in Idaho.
You got it, girl.
I'm good with lineage.
Yeah, you got this.
She sits there, she does math in her head. She's like, how many years was this?
No,
she's a teenager, right?
And he's a 16-year-old.
Yeah, and he's like 10 or 12 or something?
I think he's like 7.
Okay, he's
6 or 7.
Younger.
Yeah, way younger, like 10 years younger. But anybody asks about Tylee, and they're like, oh, well, she's going to Brigham Young there in Idaho or whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
Brigham
Idaho's
Young.
next to Utah, right? Like
or
close.
Utah, or whatever.
Yeah. It's up there near. It's not great with that part of the country.
Right, same.
I know what Idaho looks like.
Same.
Shape.
Okay.
Potatoes.
Potatoes.
So Yellowstone is up there.
Yes, and they had their picture taken at Yellowstone earlier. So Chad had told, that Lori recently lost a daughter, and she's like, I just had the impression that Lori had no other children and that she was an empty nester. And she's like, and I thought the daughter who died was like the older daughter and died of cancer or illness or something. So they were telling lies left and right. So all this time, again, a couple of months have gone by. Kay Woodcock, who is the grandmother of JJ, nobody's looking for Tylee, but they're looking for JJ. Kay's looking for JJ, and she's been trying to track down Lori. She's also been looking for Lori because Lori's not been returning emails, texts, calls, or whatever. So she calls for a wellness check in Arizona, not knowing that Lori has already fucking moved. And so in November 18th of 2019, like at 4:30 in the morning, Kay says that she just got this weird feeling, so that she should check her computer. So she goes to her computer and she sees that Charles's Gmail account is on her computer. So I don't know if he came there and just logged in to his Gmail while he was visiting and stuff. And he also gave her all of his passwords. Because here's something too. Before Charles died, maybe 4 or 5 months before Charles died, Lori went in and changed all of his passwords. And she changed the login to his insurance, his will.
So he couldn't make any changes?
So he couldn't make any changes because at first he had his will going to, or his insurance being paid out to Lori, and then he went back in and
he did change it,
and changed it to Kay. So Kay, and he was worried because he told Kay and everybody else that would listen, bless his heart, that if I turn up dead, it's Lori and her brother. Okay, so she had all of this information. So she logs in and she sees in his email that there's a confirmation email from Amazon that's addressed to Rexburg. And so she contacts a private investigator and they search the browsing history of Amazon and all that. And they see that Charles, her dead brother, has bought a beach wedding dress a bathing suit, a man's large white linen top and pants, and a malachite wedding rings, and that they were ordered October 2nd. So this was November
delivered
18th,
to Rexburg.
And delivered to Rexburg. So she's like, oh, well, they're in fucking Rexburg. Lori's in fucking Rexburg.
Having a beach wedding? What the hell?
An Idaho beach wedding.
We will get.
I was going to say, the destination, it sounds like, because it ain't going to be in the beach in Idaho.
That's right. We will get there.
I don't know a lot about up there, but
pretty well
I know
landlocked.
that much. It might be on a lake, but.
It's not. So November 26th. So right a little bit after Thanksgiving, the Rexburg police, she calls the Rexburg police to do a welfare check to find JJ, because where are the fucking kids, Lori, right? The police go and they observe Chad Daybell and Alex Cox unloading a pickup. So Detective Hermolissi, I'm sure I fucked that up, inquired about Lori's whereabouts. He's like, walks up and he's like, hey, this is the address where the rings went to. He's like, where's Lori? And who the fuck are y'all? And where the fuck is JJ? And her brother, Alex, goes, oh, he's in Louisiana with the grandmother.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, I don't
not so much
think so, because the grandmother's the one that's looking for him. And so then he's like, where's Lori? And they're like, Lori's not here. And they're like, well, do you have Lori's phone number? And they fucking hem and haw like it's his brother and doesn't have her phone number. And they're like, no, I don't have her phone number. And they're going like, oh, bullshit.
Yeah.
I was like, smell a rat. And so he claims not to have Lori's phone number.
What?
And finally he gives it over, or somebody gives it over. They attempt to contact Lori and no one answers.
I mean, I wouldn't either. Like, not blaming her for that. I get junk calls.
Unknown number. Wow.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Yeah. Same thing. I was like, police, I'm not fucking answering that. Hermosillo intercepts Chad as he was leaving and questions him about last time he saw JJ. And Chad's like, I don't know these people. He's like, I barely know Lori.
Oh, I don't know
her
these people.
And so the detective, bless his heart, was pretty insistent, and he finally gets Lori's cell phone number from Chad. And he's like, hey, and this is on fucking audio, y'all. This is why I'm there's so much recorded stuff on this whole incident that it's just fucking gobsmacking crazy fuck shit. That I just can't even with these people.
Gobsmacking crazy fuck shit.
So he's like, the detective goes, hey, aren't you Daybell? That sounds familiar. Aren't you the guy whose wife just died? And he's like, oh yeah, that's me and stuff. But the detectives knew at this time that there was some bullshit going on.
God, I hope so. They would be very good detectives if not.
Right? So instead of they were going to obtain a warrant, but instead they got a call from Lori, who agreed to that. She was like, yeah, come on over. I got nothing to hide. Allegedly, Lori told the detectives that her son JJ was with their friend Melanie Gibb, who she started the podcast with from our first episode.
Okay.
In Arizona. So he's back in Arizona because he liked it better there, because Melanie has also a child with Alzheimer's and
autism.
So, sorry. Autism. And that so they call Melanie, they're sitting there and they're like, okay,
how does she not think
what's Melanie's number? Should she? And so they're like, okay, hold on. They call, and of course Melanie doesn't answer. She's like, oh yeah, that's right. They probably went to go see Frozen 2.
What?
And of course, this whole conversation is on tape. You can listen to it too, as well.
She has to know that she's
so
fucked, right?
So they had called Melanie, as soon as the police showed up the day before, they called Melanie and they're like, look, the police are going to call you. Do not answer.
Wait, who?
They called her friend Melanie in Arizona.
Chad and Lori. They had called Melanie and said, don't answer?
Right.
Oh, wow.
Shit.
This is going to last.
Right.
There's planes now.
And so the police...
Internet.
Right. The police call and she doesn't answer. And I think she even lied to the police. I think they finally got a hold of her. And I think she did lie to the police.
Say he was there?
And then she called back a couple of days later and confessed that JJ was never with her and that Lori had instructed her to lie.
Yeah,
about
because
his
you feel like an asshole, right?
And well, don't get me started about Melanie. Okay. And Lori had also told Melanie to take photos of random children at the movie theater as a decoy. Like they wouldn't be able to pick JJ out.
Also, like...
What the? This is so not funny, but it's so ridiculous.
Plan ever.
This is an 1819 plan.
It is.
Not a 2019 plan.
No, it'd be really hard to take all those photos with the big going off.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like... It takes forever for communication to get around them. Like they can find out within a matter of minutes or hours.
See,
like
Chad and Lori are deities.
They're delusional.
And the end of the world is coming. So
they're like,
none of this,
we hold out.
None of this matters.
None of this matters. None of this makes a difference. So the very next day, the Rexburg police serve a search warrant to Chad and Lori's residence, which they were staying at apartments. But the couple had disappeared.
Oh,
most everything had been removed from the apartments. However, in the garage, they discovered a ghillie suit, which is like a camouflage suit that you would wear, ample ammunition, a rifle, a handgun, rope, duct tape, and several silencers.
So you're okay. So you know that you're running from the police, and yet you leave like your super suit shit in the garage. Like, what?
I am telling you, that whole statement of just the gobsmacked, fucknoid, fucktitude of this.
Fucktitude.
They left and got married out in the Caribbean, didn't they?
They went to the beach. Did they go back to Hawaii?
So the police also found emails from Chad Daybell.
How is it spelled?
It's Daybell. Spelled like fucking Daybell.
Well, call him Daybell. Daybell is his name.
So they found several books written by him, hazmat white suits, rental agreement for a Rexburg storage unit, and of course they tried to contact Lori and Chad, and nobody was answering.
Are there dead people in the storage unit?
Nobody was dead. They couldn't find any dead people.
Okay, well that's positive.
So December 6, 2019, and nobody fucking knows about this yet. It's when Melanie, so like shortly after they did all of this, December 6th, Melanie calls the police and tells them all about like her lie and that JJ's not with her, but they're kind of already like,
we know that.
Right? And December 11th, Tammy Daybell's looking suspicious as fuck now.
Wait, Tammy's
her
dead.
death?
Her death.
Yeah.
So Tammy, Chad's wife, who died
her death is looking suspicious.
Her death.
Yeah. She's not looking suspicious.
Sorry.
She's looking suspiciously dead.
She's looking suspiciously dead. Yes. Bless her. She's already buried 3 days afterwards, but her body is exhumed because they're like, this is just weird. And the medical examiner, upon second go around, says that Tammy Daybell died at the hands of another and of asphyxiation.
So they strangled her or put a pillow over her head?
Something.
Oh my God.
And then, so that was December 11th. And y'all, I will put the timeline just as like the genealogy of all these people. If you're confused right now, it is okay.
It's just within weeks, though.
Everything is within weeks. I'll put up links to the timeline and to like who everybody is if you're interested in this. Which I hopefully that you are, because it's still going on and we'll talk about that. But the day after, Alex Cox passed away.
The day after what?
But he's the henchman.
The day after Tammy Daybell's body is exhumed. So the guy,
that's the brother that killed the
Charles,
third husband.
That was in the picture. Yeah, that was in the picture with the kids, and that has basically been deemed as Lori's protector.
So you think he killed everybody so far?
So December 20th, the police finally announce to the whole wide world, to the media and everybody, that JJ and Tylee are missing, and that their disappearance is possibly linked to a suspicious death of Tammy Daybell. And of course, there is no Lori or Chad, so they're looking for Lori and Chad, nowhere to be found. But of course, Lori and Chad are deities at this point, and Chad has already proclaimed himself as part of the Godhead. He's part of the Holy Trinity.
Wow.
He's the Holy Spirit?
Pretty sure there's no extra room in there.
It's like Father, Son, and Leave It to Beaver, right?
Like Father, Son, and 3.5.
Right? Exactly, 3.5.
The Holy Spirit.
And he's basically, at this time, he's calling himself, the second coming of Christ.
What the hell?
At least to Lori.
I shouldn't be laughing. I know this is, I feel bad because this is somebody's somebody's family and somebody's life. It's so ridiculous and
awful. You should laugh at him though.
That would be though, how awful would that be though, to be the family member of somebody who was victimized by someone that was this just asinine.
Where are his kids? There's 5 of them and his wife is dead.
Right. Well, they went along with their dad.
What?
So
everybody's missing.
I don't know.
The couple and the 5 kids.
The 5 kids have kind of already grown and out of the house.
Okay.
They're older. They're older. They're not young. There's no young kids. There's Tylee and JJ are the only young kids.
That was like, God, where are the rest of the kids? Did they kill them all?
Oh my God, right? But Chad and Lori obviously are above law. Chad is for sure, but the media gets involved. JJ and Tylee's photos are everywhere, which is where I remember seeing, like, once that started out, I remember seeing their photos, but not really paying attention to the story. So January 25th of 2020, still not into COVID yet, the Kauai Police Department served Lori a notice that she must produce JJ and Tylee to the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare or the Rexburg Police within 5 days. And there is fucking video of this. And the Kauai, which is in Hawaii, there's the beach. That's where the rings and all that. So the video is...
Because they had lived there before.
She had lived there before.
With her.
Right. With her fourth husband, correct, Charles, who was murdered. And so they walk up. They are poolside. Lori's in a bathing suit. Chad's in a bathing suit. They're all tan. Chad's lost 20 pounds, is all looking way less Leave It to Beaver than he was previously. And they serve her with this, and she just sits there, and they're like, so do you understand what this is? And she doesn't really reply much or anything. But, they're sitting there living their best life. Like, they have no cares by the pool, and they're tanned. And then 5 days later, of course, Lori misses the 5 p.m. deadline to produce JJ and Tylee. Kay Woodcott, JJ's grandmother, holds a news conference and expresses her disappointment. And at this point, everybody's like, where's the kids, Lori? And it's like the news is coming, the reporters, everybody is like, anytime they see them, they're like all up in their faces going, where's the kids, Lori? And she just blows them off. And she's smiling and laughing. And there's not a care in the world. And it's just so really, you're distraught, like watching this. On February 20th, 2020, police in Kauai arrest Lori on a $5 million warrant for Madison County.
Oh, yeah.
She is charged with 2 felony counts of desertion and non-support of dependent children. She was charged with resisting officers, criminal solicitation, and contempt of court. I don't know what the fucking criminal solicitation
That's what I was wondering.
means.
What was the criminal solicitation?
There is video of Lori when Charles was killed of her saying very inappropriate things to the cops. Like talking about like how big his gun is kind of stuff. Like on the day, hours away after her husband being shot.
That's just the stupidest thing. Like, have some sense.
Obviously.
If you're going to do crime, Jesus.
None. So that was she was arrested back in February 20th. And I'm pretty sure Chad was too. I'm not sure when Chad was arrested. I think he was arrested later on, actually. I don't think he was arrested at the same time as Lori. So June 9th, 2020, so we're into the summer, at 7 a.m., a search warrant was served at Chad's home. That's right. Chad was not arrested at this time. Lori was in jail. So they're back in Idaho. So it's the police, the FBI, the sheriff's office, serve this warrant at Chad's home. Chad has like property, and within hours, the remains of JJ and Tylee were discovered buried on the property. So here's a little bit of warning if you're sensitive or triggered to stuff like that, stuff like this, which, oh my God. So Tylee remains were found in a pet cemetery near a fire pit. She had been brutally dismembered and burned.
Oh my God.
JJ's remains were found near a pond. There was a bag over his head, and he had been duct taped from like his chin up to his nose.
Jesus.
On Chad's property. So while they were searching, before they had found the bodies, Chad called Lori and told her that officers were searching the property. Lori asked if they had seized anything, and Chad said, no, they're just searching. So soon after that call, Chad told Lori to call her attorney. And
is she not in jail still? I mean, 500 or
$5 million.
$5 million is.
She's still in jail.
You got a bond out for $500,000.
But that was
she
for
probably,
child.
Yeah,
like
she probably needed to call him because
for,
the charges are going to change.
Yeah. So as soon as they found the kids, like,
so she's still in jail, and he's like, "Hey, they're searching. You better get
ready." And so
are they going to lay all this on her brother? Go ahead.
Charles Chad stayed there because the cop was like saying like Chad is here and he's watching, and the not the cop but the detective, and he was watching Chad because he was making sure that he wasn't going anywhere while they were searching. And as soon as they found the bodies, Chad gets in his car and he fucking takes off. And of course, they are like right behind them, and they pull him over. And of course, he pulls over with the lights, so it's not like getting, far. And then they arrest him, right? On May 24th, 2021, a grand jury indicts Chad and Lori on several new felony charges, including first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. On May 12th of this year, a 12-member jury...
2023.
So
they found the bodies in June of 2020.
Yeah, so 2 years.
And then they arrested them a year later?
Well, they convicted them. Yeah. They convicted them. They arrested them. So they are in jail.
And then now.
And then 2 years later.
COVID.
Because of COVID, right? So 2 years later, on May 12th of this year, a 12-member jury unanimously found Lori Vallow Daybell guilty on all charges, which were basically murder, conspiracy, or first-degree murder. Hold on, let me read this. 2 counts of first-degree murder in the death of her children, Tylee and Ryan and JJ Vallow. 3 counts of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder in the deaths of her children, and grand theft related to the Social Security survivors' benefits that she was collecting from husband number 3 and husband number 4 that she was getting. So they tried Lori first, and she was found guilty. And then Chad Daybell's trial is scheduled for April 2024. Lori's sentencing. They took the death penalty off for Lori. Her sentencing is set for the end of this month, July 31st. And like I said, she will not face the death penalty, but Chad Daybell's trial is set for April 2024, and his is still open for the death penalty.
I'm not really sure what why would that be off for one and not for another, but I don't generally believe in the death penalty anyways.
It's about bargaining with I'm sure. But
Jesus
it's about
Christ.
The state too, so I'm sure Idaho, whatever.
I just, the thing that gets me is like, those are her, well, JJ's not her blood relative, but she created this other child.
Right.
Like the idea that somebody could do that is just...
And I think it also has to do with when they were killed. Well, okay, when they found JJ and he had the tape around him, they found Lori's hair stuck to the duct tape.
Jesus Christ.
And they found DNA or thumbprint or something from Alex Cox.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. I was wondering if they were going to throw him under the bus and say that he was the one that did it all.
But they also found...
But I wondered if they killed him.
They found Chad. Well, they found Alex, like his phone. They traced his phone and found that the day that they were murdered, like they were murdered separately. Tylee was murdered first. And then like a couple of weeks later, JJ was murdered. Or sometime afterwards, JJ was murdered. They murdered Tali first, and they have text where Chad texted Tammy, who was still alive at the time, saying, "Oh, I shot a raccoon on our property and I'm going to bury it in the pet cemetery. And I'm also burning some leaves and stuff. So if you smell something, that's what it is." So that was Tali that he was talking about. Jesus. So they have record of
have
him
that to tie to her. And they can tie that with like time of death, like how long she's been
and then
there.
they have like Alex's phone saying that he was on the property the day after the last time that JJ was saw. So they can tie, and Alex is already dead, but they just found like one hair that was Lori. So they can't really, like, they don't have Lori there other than that hair. And I think that's why they can't really pursue the death penalty with her. Because I think she maybe has an alibi, but not very sure.
Oh my God, that's so fucked up.
It is so fucked up, y'all. So I'm putting those dates on my calendar because I'm definitely following this now that I know about it. The podcast that I've been like down the rabbit hole that gives all this, y'all, this is so much more involved and complicated than I've even talked about. If you're going like, what? It's even more like, what? than you would ever think. But there is a fucking fantastic podcast out there called Hidden, a true crime podcast. And the reason it is so good is because it's hosted by a forensic psychologist.
Oh.
Dr. John Matthias, and his wife, who is an investigative journalist, Lauren Matthias. And the Daybell case was their first podcast that they have done. And Dr. John, he's like, this is all like, what is it called when you're just, it's not official, but it's like we're speculating. He's like, this is all speculation, but because he works with like criminals and this is like part of his criminal behaviors and stuff, and this is all part of his profession. He sits there and he breaks down like he analyzes all of the people and all of the situations and all of the families, and he goes back into like where Lori came from, where Chad came from, and they talk to cousins, they talk about the upbringing and what caused like these two seemingly innocent people to create such this heinous web of just lies and confusion and like fantasy. It's like, it's a fantastic podcast, and it's what I listened to most of this week. And there's like 45 episodes, and they're all like over an hour each.
Wow.
So I would definitely recommend all of our fans to go check them out. You will not be disappointed, but you'll be disgusted, and you'll be mad, and you'll be pissed off at all the things. But that is the end. Oh, wow.
Damn.
The case right now, as far as we know, God bless them, sweet little children and babies.
Those other fuckers can just burn in hell.
Oh my God. Coming up for side B, I'll go into a little bit more of the timeline and some of the texts between Lori and Chad.
Gross.
During this time.
I will lighten it up with Jello.
Yeah.
And then I need a palate cleanser because this is like, we'll be talking about like, I don't know, maybe I'll do a Bigfoot alien like rave story.
Ay, shit. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All right.
Bless
Thanks,
those children and their grandparents.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
bless
absolutely.
All the people who loved them.
I know. Bless them so much. And fuck the adults that were around them that said fucking nothing.
Yeah.
Fuck y'all. So thanks everybody else for listening.
Bye.
We appreciate you. Bye.
Bye, y'all.